Welcome to the Epic Success Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Shannon Irvin. I am so excited to bring Chantal Cox to you today on the podcast because she is an up-and-coming coach in the industry that you've got to hear about. And I've brought her on today to continue the conversation that we've had over the last few weeks about becoming a coach. Like, what does it take to become a profitable coach? What do you sell? How do you sell it? All of those things, because newsflash, coaches launch differently. And so we're going to talk about that today and about her business and how she took it from zero to where she is today. So Chantal, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I woke up today knowing I was going to get to talk to you, and just like how fun it is to share our stories. I know you and I were talking before we got started about how we're seeing a lot of people that maybe were in 9-to-5 jobs, maybe were doing, what they thought was secure a year and a half ago, and realize, hey, maybe this isn't so secure anymore, and are looking at coaching as, is this a possibility? I just read a stat that in the next 4 years, it's projected that the coaching industry is going to grow to an $18 billion industry. And it makes sense, right? When you can get a result faster and easier with a coach than you can by yourself, people are starting to realize, wow, it's kind of not the best path to try to do it all on your own. It's better to have the shortened path, the specific roadmap, right? So I would love for you to tell the listeners what we were doing before you decided to get into the neurocoaching certification, what was going on in your life, and then we'll just take it from there.
I am by trade a special educator, and so at full-time in special education in a variety of positions over the years. And then a few years ago, I decided to write a book, and it was part memoir, part self-help, and it really journaled my personal transformation after leaving a domestic violence abuse situation. And so I completely had to rebuild my life and figure out who I was, what I wanted for the first time, because it wasn't about anybody else, and I didn't have eggshells to walk on anymore. And so I really dove into self-help for the first time. And I didn't know all these things that other people think, oh, that's basics. That's self-help 101. I'm like, that's where I was.
Right. At 101.
So I started listening to podcasts and reading books and implementing the things that I was learning. And I completely transformed. And then people started asking, like, oh my gosh, you're so much more confident. And I mean, I'm physically healthier. I just have more energy, everything. My whole world is 10,000 times better. And so they're saying, what did you do and how can I do it?
Right.
And so that's where the book came from. Then as I'm doing book signings, because I have a ton of local businesses that are super supportive of local artists. I love the community I live in. And people were buying it and then coming to book signings and then asking to hire me as their coach. And my limiting beliefs, my automatic negative thoughts popped up there and said, well, I'm not a coach, I'm a teacher.
Right.
Because that's, I have 2 master's degrees in education. I don't know how many years I'd been teaching at that point, but several. And so I just really was struggling with, well, I can't do that. When a friend actually asked me, hey, Chantal, what does your name tag actually say right now? And I was like, I'm an instructional coach. That was the position I had in the special ed world at that time. So I had done some coaching training. My job was to coach other teachers, and I was seeing results, and I loved that part of my job, but I still wasn't identifying as a coach.
Right.
And then I was listening to Hal Elrod's podcast, and Dr. Shannon Irvin is there. And I was considering doing some type of doctoral work and wanting to learn how the brain learns, really wanting to see what it takes for a brain to grow and transform. And so your messaging was just so spot on to right where I was at with what the ways I was thinking and where I wanted to go next with my journey.
Yeah.
And then I started following your podcast, and then I heard about the neurocoaching certification program, and it was a no-brainer. I applied that day and was terrified I wasn't going to get accepted, and it was late. It was, not quite, the timing wasn't right, but you graciously let me in, and I was just so, so grateful.
So when you chose to go the route of the certification, were you thinking at that point in time, I'm going to grow this really mega big coaching business? Like what was the thought process behind jumping in?
Not at all. As part of my journey,
people were banging down your door, and you're like, I better figure out how to become a coach.
Right. Well, so as people were asking to hire me as their coach, I had other coaches saying, I love your book. I love the structure. Can we do a co-coaching experience? So I actually co-coached twice, a 10-week experience with 2 different partners, and learned a lot. And that first time I really showed up like, you're the coach, I'm the teacher. I have the content, and then you take it from there and you coach. And then the second gal I did it with, she just was saying, how is the questions you are asking not coaching? How is what you're doing not coaching? And so I was like, oh, okay, I'm already coaching people. Yes. So how do I do this better? Because I really, if I'm going to do anything, I'm going to do it well, and I'm going to do it right. And I want to be sure to help people and not just get them so far and then be like, oh, that's as far as I got, so that's all you can go. So I'm always leveling up and continuing to learn and grow.
I love it. And then you got in and you learned the neurocoaching model. You learned how the brain wires success and failure and all the stories about money and worth and all the things. So what started happening in your business? Now, just to kind of go backwards, I know you're celebrating something that's coming up here. Actually, by the time this airs, it will be legitimately official. So we can say, do you want to share a little bit about like what you were doing and what you're about to do here in the next couple of weeks?
Yes. So after the instructional coaching position, I moved into a couple other positions, and then I'm currently an assistant director of special education. And so that's a administrative job. It's my first year in administration during a global pandemic.
Yay.
It's been a little stressful. Yeah. And the title of my book is Create a Life I Love, or Create a Life You Love. And I was not living a life that I love. I'm stressed. I'm not doing my morning routine. Like, just things are not where they need to be. So I'm like, this is not for me. This is not the path I want to be on. My heart is in the coaching. And an opportunity came up. And so now I'm still kind of under the education umbrella, but I'll be working across the state that I live in with other instructional coaches and really helping bring coaching into the education system.
Oh, that's so amazing. So amazing, because it's so necessary. And so talk about what it was like learning the steps of the roadmap. One of the things I say about the neurocoaching certification is it teaches you how to become a coach, how to gain confidence as a coach, to know that you're working in coaching in a way that's going to actually transform somebody versus just hype them up, right? A lot of non-effective coaching methodologies out there on the marketplace that use things like willpower and language shifts and those things. So you definitely learned the brain-based model of transformation. And then you also learned how to put yourself out there and how to actually build a coaching business. What was it like to have that plan kind of just step by step set out in front of you as you were going through this transition from educator to coach?
Yeah, I remember the day that we did our graduation ceremony, which due to COVID, was virtual. And just kind of spending some time reflecting on that past, I think it was about a year that it took me to go through the program, and just how far I had come from could I be a coach? Do I even want to be a coach? What would this look like? I don't know where to get started. I don't know how to run a business. I don't know how to get a client. Like
Right.
all these,
All the things.
I'm going to do this, but I have no idea how.
Right.
And your program just completely was exactly like you said, the roadmap. It was like I found the easy button to push. And it took so much of the thought and the stress and the worrying and the anxiety and the unknown and the fear out. Because you're at this step, focus on this step. Now you're at this step, focus on this step. Now you're here, now you're here, now, and you just step through the program. And the beautiful thing about how you do it is that we also go through your Epic Success program. And we are transforming our minds and using the neurocoaching model on ourselves while we're building a business, while we're learning to use it to then go help our clients.
Yeah, it's that transformed person that transforms other people, and you're moving through. So let's talk a little bit, because I've been blessed to watch your journey and walk alongside you in it, and talk about the difference in the confidence that you have in coaching from back there when you were in that place where a lot of people listening probably are, to today as a master neuro coach, graduated, out there making huge impact in the space. Talk about how confident you feel coaching now.
Now, when I get off a coaching call, I just feel so just alive. I think I sent a little dancing image one night to our neuro coaching group of Audrey Hepburn singing "I Could Have Danced All Night." I'm just like lit up after getting to coach somebody. And so in the beginning, though, it was not like that. Obviously, there was a lot of anxiety, a lot of what do I say? Oh no, I don't know what to say. I'm quiet. Oh gosh, am I quiet for too long? And just all these things where you don't know how yet to quiet your brain to really, it's not about you as the coach at all. If you just have your focus on who you're serving, it starts coming very natural. Like, what's their next step in their thought process? And the neurocoaching model helps you understand where they're at in their thought process and how to get them to where they want to be.
Yeah. And so is there ever a moment now where you're like, I don't know what to do or how to coach?
No, because of the supportive community that comes with the certification program. We all just, even if I have a session that maybe was difficult, immediately they're able to see the things that I did that maybe I wasn't focusing on and help me celebrate the wins, and use it really as a growth. Like, not, oh man, I shouldn't have done this time, but okay, what did I just learn? How am I going to be better tomorrow?
Yeah. Yeah. And now with all the practice and practicums they got, it makes a big difference. So I know the track you're on, and you've just taken an amazing position as a coach across your entire state. That makes me so happy for you. Like, when you're sitting and thinking about the life that you love, just like the title of your book, what do you see happening in your life now that you have the certification? You know what you're doing, you know how you're building this out. What are you seeing that's getting created?
Yeah. Right now, what I'm working on with my brain priming is really diving into this new position once it starts July 1 and being the best that I can be. And I have a huge growth opportunity ahead of me. It's going to be challenging and a lot of growth, but also maintaining that balance. One of my brain priming statements says I work on my business 4 hours a week unless I choose to do more.
Yeah.
And so I've mapped out exactly what I would intentionally do with those 4 hours. So I'm not getting caught up in the, squirrel syndrome and all those things. And just being really intentional and impactful and building out a group program so I can make a lot more impact with, if I were to coach for 1 hour a week, if one of those 4 hours was actually coaching, I can impact more people than just one person.
Right. And that's what I love about what we get to do, because There are people like Sarah who doesn't really have a desire to do group coaching or anything like that. She likes to help other people out. There are people like, Angela and Jen, who's like, give me as many people as humanly possible and big stages and all that. Then there's people who just want to do one-on-one and like that lights them up. That's all they want to do for the rest of their life. And it is the future that you get to create. I think we get kind of spoon fed, like I should go from this to this to this to this, because that's what I see all these people doing. But at the end of the day, if you don't get out of bed, like just, so excited to go do what you're doing, that's the point. That's wealth, right? That's what wealth is getting to spend your time the way you desire, that's aligned with the future that you want. I'd love for you to share, what would you say to somebody like yourself back then who was considering a career as a coach? How would you get them into saying yes to themselves and getting the process and the path so that they can get there so much faster?
Yeah, I'd ask them to think about, what if they knew that they couldn't fail? Then what would they do? And so, take away all the fear, all the scarcity. If you just know this is a path, if I show up for myself, I invest the time and money and energy in myself, I'm going to end up at the destination. There's no way around it. So just say yes to yourself.
Yeah. And I love that you, in the beginning, you're like, I need to know the right way to coach. And I need to know that I'm doing the very best coaching I can possibly do. And that seems to be the DNA of the neuro coaches that do come in. It's like, we really want to make sure we're really getting that transformation for the client, right? That it's not temporary, or that we're not going to get to a point where we can't help anymore, because we know how the brain is wired. So it doesn't matter if the problem's big, or if what they want to do is big, or if it doesn't matter. It's just, a lot of us are just too close to the things that we can't see. It's language we've been telling ourselves our whole lives. So we can't hear the stories as quickly as somebody who's been trained in this model and has that tool belt to be able to help guide. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about how the active services is. I know you're a very service-driven person, right? You have that big heart to serve. And the neurocoaching model at itself teaches people to self-coach. It teaches them to learn to see through the lens and have the tools for themselves to self-coach, but, initially with you, and then they never let you go because you got into that background. So I'd love for you to talk about that piece of the puzzle.
Yeah. Actually, as you were talking about something earlier, I was processing and I'm like, man, I get to use it on myself too. And so it's so funny because back before I found any of this, my thoughts were constantly negative. And then that's what I wrote about in one of my chapters in my book, was like the power of affirmations, and kind of walk people through how to do them, the importance of them, and what happened when I did that. And then you take it one step further and even deeper, and really into the neural networks of it. And now in my day-to-day speaking, whether it's outwardly or inwardly, I'm catching my own little automatic negative thoughts and being like, hold up, where did that come from?
What? Not on my watch.
Yep. And then can dig back down to what is that tied to? And okay, we're going to sit down and we're going to work through this because this is not going to be what's holding me back.
When you were going through the certification, did you put yourself kind of doing the Coach Launch Formula One? We talk about the fact that we teach you how to coach. We teach you the neuro coaching model, but we also teach you how to grow a business, like a legit business, not a hobby, not what a lot of people are doing out there, but really get you started and put yourself out there. And right from the beginning, we teach you Coach Launch Formula One, which is coaches do launch differently. We're not marketers. If you think about coaches in general, somebody has to say this. It's a vulnerable thing for somebody to say yes to a coach, right? They have to say, I want to get somewhere and I can't get there on my own. Or they have to say, I'm not where I want to be and I need help, right? Two very vulnerable things. They don't want to be in a funnel. You know what I'm saying? They want to feel known and seen and cared for and safe, right? And so there's a way to do that, and that serves them deeply. And so Coach Lunch Formula One, we always share it in the beginning because we want you covering the certification, and it's 100% success rate if anybody who's tried it. So did you dive into that, and what were the results of that for you?
Yeah, I immediately got a couple clients, which then helped greatly as I was paying for the program and going
Yeah.
through it. And then allowed me the time and the space to build some confidence by putting into action things that we're practicing in the safe zones of practicums and co-coaching and
Yeah.
all the things that the program has embedded in it, but then kind of taking away the safety net and flying on my own a little bit. And my prices were lower than I knew I wanted to charge, but I also knew I wasn't fully certified yet and I was still learning. And so now what I'm able to comfortably charge is like, I would just laugh if somebody said, I want to pay you this much. I'd be like, huh, for what, 15 minutes?
So how many, like, you don't have to say the amount, but what, like, how many times more than that initial offering?
Oh, it's more than double. I don't know. It's quite up to 3 times.
Yeah. Wow. And that's within a year, for getting to almost 3 times your initial rate. And what I'm hearing from you is it's not like, oh yeah, no. That's what I'm worth. There's a different place that you're coming from than when you first got into it. And it is a process, right? I think one of the disservices of a lot of the online promotional people out there is they make you feel like, blink and there it is. Yes. I mean, we do teach like the Coach Lunch Formula One. And if you really work that process, like Chantal said, I got 2 clients immediately, paid for the certification. So boom. But it is a journey that you go on. And isn't it better when you're going on a journey? I was talking to a friend of mine about the trail that goes from like Baja up to the top of Washington State. It's like a trail that some people like do that trek. And I can't imagine doing that without a map, without, where do I get water? How do I get food? Where do I sleep? Where can I take a shower? Where do I go to like recover for a little while? All of those benchmarks that we go through as we're growing. And then on top of that, being able to have that, oh, you know what? I just know I have 10 miles to my next stop. That's why I love doing it. I'm a step-by-step girl. You are too. That's kind of how I think we all want to know the how, right? How do I do this? Like, I'll do it. I'll go all in. And that's one thing I saw with you is that once you were in, you were like, okay, just tell me the next step and I'm going to go 100% and then get to the next one and then 100%. So I hear a lot of people with fear of like, can I do it? Can I do it? Not can Chantal do it, but can I do it? Right? Maybe there's something about this that might be too hard for me. So I'd love for you to talk about, I know you've gone through those emotions and come out the other side. So I'd love for you to talk about confidence from changing into like can I do this, into what you're stepping into now.
Yeah. Once you're able to identify the questions that you're asking. So if you're saying, can I do this? Then you can kind of flip that and be like, well, why wouldn't I be able to? And then that's where you're going to be able to really target your automatic negative thoughts and work them through the neurocoaching model and come out at the end with a brain priming statement. And then you kind of go from there. And, after for me, it's about 7 days, I start kind of noticing a difference. About 21 to 28 days, I get like headaches and real tired and I'm fighting it, but just keep pushing through. And then by that 67 days, it's like, I can't even imagine saying I can't do it because of this.
Right.
Like all the barriers are removed because those barriers never actually existed. They were all in my own head.
Yeah. And getting to then take that to your clients and helping them see the barriers, see what's stopping them and working them through it. I'd love for you to share. I know you shared in the group some things that your clients have said, and you're so humble. You don't like, she wouldn't naturally tell you all these things, but I'd love for you to share a little bit of that kind of feedback loop that you've seen coming back to you from your clients.
Recently, I had one where in our initial clarity call, this client had identified multiple goals, and we
Okay.
pared it down to kind of three big ones that we're going to focus on over the next 12 weeks together. And they seemingly had to do with different areas of life. One's kind of like going back to school, so education, feeding your brain. One's health. One was more like the getting out of comfort zone and expanding friend groups and hobbies and things like that. And our session the other day, we were able to really target down into and uncover that they were all tied to one limiting belief, one automatic negative thought. And when that realization hit her, just the light bulb went off. That's the whole reason I went into special education, is I love to see that light bulb go off. So
Yeah.
I still get to do that in this walk too. And it was just so powerful. And then we were able to kind of recalibrate. Okay, so because it had gotten a little busy with, we're going to make brain priming statements for these three. And now we really had that target focus of, this is what we are attacking. This is what we need to rewire. Once we unlock this, everything is, you're free.
And how is that client now? How's the client doing with all of that?
That was our last session. So not
good.
Last one that we've had. So
Yeah.
We've had some interaction through text and stuff in between, but I haven't gotten to touch base with her again in a coaching, more one-on-one formal scenario yet. And then at another gal who she went through a 10-week group coaching program back when I was kind of first getting started. And I've asked her a couple times to give like some testimonials and stuff. And she just talks about how much growth she had, how she didn't even know what she was worth, or that she was worth anything, that she deserved to be happy, that she didn't have to be stuck where she was. Like she had just accepted, this is what life is. And she was finally, for the first time, able to question, but does it have to be? Is there more? How do I make it more? If I get to take the reins of my own life, what do I want it to look like? And now her life is so different. She's had a huge transformation. And she's just so, again, just like I did, so much more confident and just healthy, happy, going out, doing amazing things, helping other people. So it's so beautiful to be a small part of other people's journeys.
How important is that impact that you get to make in the journey?
I see it as definitely like a ripple effect, because I'm a small piece of one person's journey, and then they go out and they're a small piece of 20 people's journeys. And then those 20 people go out, and it just keeps going and going and going, to where ultimately, wouldn't it be wonderful if the whole world was able to kind of self-coach themselves through your model and just get rid of all the BS, all the limiting beliefs. And
yeah, I mean, I think one thing that you and I both have in common, and most people who get certified, is that desire to just really impact people. And like you said, being that small part. And, a lot of times I'll see, celebrity coaches like wanting to be the big part, right? Wanting to, it was because of me. But at the end of the day, as you help people transform, and then they go out and transform, that impact, that legacy thing is so powerful. I think it's just part of what builds like a wealthy life, right? Knowing that what you do in the day has that kind of an effect on people. And we won't know like ultimately the long-term impact this side of heaven, but it's pretty amazing. And I got to hear a lot of these stories, and her gift the other day of, I could have danced all night, right? It's that ability to, make money, money, you don't want to coach for free. When you coach for free, people don't take it seriously. So when, the transformations does start with the transaction, I think about how many people coach for free. It drives me nuts because most people won't do the work then. But when they do come in and they become part of your program, and then they start to get these ahas and really make this transformation, I think that's like the secret payment that we as coaches get that you can't necessarily put a number on, but man, it is a powerful thing to be using your life and mission to support people's greatest version of themselves, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, as we're wrapping up, I'd love for you to just share your favorite moment in your certification process. Like, what was the moment that you loved the most? What got you just like so excited that you were in the process?
There's so many to choose from. I'm
Yeah.
trying to think back to all the things. I think it's a collection of moments that revolve around the community built.
Yeah.
Just before I jumped on this interview, several of us did a clubhouse call together. We do every other Tuesday night. We call it high performance brain hacks. And then we pick a different clubhouse topic, or like, I think tonight was like the importance of a powerful community, or the power of a supportive community. There we go. And so then we just talk about it and other people can join and we just have authentic conversations. And it shifted into how's COVID impacted supportive communities. And so just that ongoing, because of COVID, I've not gotten to meet you or any of my cohort in person.
Right.
But I have more interaction and contact through our different group chats and Voxers and Facebook groups than I have with some people who live a block away from me.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. And it's something powerful about a big group of people, not big, but a group of people, because we do it, the certifications in small cohorts, but we're all pacing alongside of each other, wanting to help people, wanting to coach in the best way we can, wanting to grow our businesses. And most people don't have that in the rest of their life, right? You're like, what do you do? And you're like, a coach. Oh, well, what's that? And so there's this disconnect, but you get in the room with us and it's like family, because we know and we support you and we keep your vision where you said you wanted it, not where, on your day that you're not doing the best you want to be, but at that high place. So I love that you brought up the community because it's so powerful. So we know you've got this amazing position coming starting in July. What else is on the horizon for you?
Yes, I am launching my revamped signature program. Instead of 10 weeks, it's now 12 weeks. And it takes the teachings of my book, Create a Life You Love, and puts it in a format, a step-by-step, to help anybody transform and really take any transition that they're going through, life transition, and turn it into their powerful transformation. So that might be somebody going through a divorce, someone figuring out what life looks like after the kids fly the coop and now you're an empty nester. Maybe you've gotten married, maybe you broke up with someone, like additions and losses in life. We constantly are transitioning. So how do you take that transition and really use it to transform yourself? And it brings in the neurocoaching model and really does that brain-based long-term. So I'm very excited for that, as well as kicking off a membership here soon. That kind of really, a lot of my ideal clients don't really know about coaching, or it sounds weird, or
right.
It's just not very normalized here in Kansas.
Right.
And so it's really an opportunity to experience a group coaching once a month in a safe environment at a pretty low cost. And so my podcast, I interview other people. And so I'm going to start really intentionally picking a coach at least one time a month we'll do the interview, and then the people who are in the membership have a VIP pass and can jump on Zoom with me and the co-coach afterwards for a group coaching. And so then have kind of a rotating, okay, this month we're talking about finances, and this one we're focusing on health or relationships, and just getting kind of a holistic opportunity for them to experience group coaching.
That's awesome. And tell my listeners the name of your podcast.
It's the Create a Life You Love podcast.
Yep. I love it. So make sure you subscribe. We'll link that up in the show notes. And I'd love to, as we're wrapping it up, just any words of encouragement you could give to the up and coming person who might be joining or just thinking about joining the certification, but wanting to become a coach as quickly as possible and be profitable, right? What would you say to them as we wrap up?
Just go all in. Just say yes to yourself. Go all in. The only thing that'll hold you back is you. You're going to say it's time and money, but it's not. It's you. It's how you choose to spend your money and how you choose to spend your time. So choose this goal and go impact people.
I love it. And how can people, other than the podcast, which we'll link up, how can they connect with you online?
I'm most active on Facebook. I have the Create a Life You Love community. And so I can get you that link so they can get into that. And my website is createalifeyoulovecoaching.com.
I love it. Chantal, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your journey. It's an inspiration. And I know people listening will be inspired by what you've gone through. And now here you are on the other side, living a life that you love and creating it through coaching yourself and really creating that life that you were dreaming of, but weren't there yet. So I'm excited that people got to listen to your story, listen to your podcast, and just adore you. And thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much.
All right. Isn't Chantal amazing? So the link down below is the link to join the certification and get in your application. The spots are filling up very fast. So you want to do that as quickly as possible. It is first come, first serve. Look, next week, we're going to be diving into a really cool thing. We're going to bring the two master neurocoach instructors, Gina and Angela, are going to come on the podcast with me. And we're going to talk about what they see in coaches, what creates a good coach, what creates a struggling coach, what is it in the certification, where are the sticking points. We're just going to talk through it all from an instructor standpoint, so you can be a fly on the wall of what really does make a good coach a good coach. And that's going to wrap up the series on how to create a profitable coaching business. I can't wait to see you in the certification. Like Chantal said, say yes to yourself. Don't let the time and the money thing be the story that keeps your brain safe. Because imagine if she hadn't have jumped and done what she's done, she wouldn't be anywhere close to where she is now. So I'm excited to see you inside the certification. Until then, I will see you next week on the Epic Success Podcast. Remember, you are the creator of your thoughts. So create the thoughts that create the life you love. All right. I'll see you next week on the 5th podcast in this series on becoming a profitable coach. See you then.